Hi, my name is Malena and I have OCD. To me, OCD is soul-crushing, dream-stealing, mental breaking. It's really, really hard. So many different subtypes. Currently, I am struggling the most with contamination and sexual intrusive thoughts. In an average day, OCD affects everything I do, from waking up in the morning to going to bed at night, how I get into bed, how I get out to prevent contamination. It affects how I eat. It affects how I go to the store, whether or not I can get into the store. It affects time with my family, friends. It affects everything. When COVID was announced to be a global pandemic, my OCD started to increase. I started to notice more of contamination showing up. I have had contamination since I was a senior in high school, but most of my contamination was manageable. It didn't impact my day too greatly. When the CDC came out with guidelines on how to prepare food and take care of COVID and how to avoid or not avoid what you should be eating, my OCD grabbed hold and ran with it to a point where I would go outside and clean all of the groceries off with Clorox wipes and cry because I couldn't do it right. And then afterward, I would have to wash my hands, and then I couldn't get gas for my car. At one point, I didn't drive for an entire month, I believe it was, because I couldn't go to the gas station. So I just let my car sit empty because I was too scared to go get gas. So I didn't leave very literally to go anywhere, even to get groceries. They all had to be delivered because I couldn't leave the house. It grew to a point where I couldn't go outside my house. The front of the house was very, very contaminated because that's where neighborhood kids rode their bike through, where people walked through. So I couldn't go out there because COVID might have been out on the sidewalk and I didn't want to touch it. It became something that took over my life and left no hours in the day for me to enjoy. The only time I had to really relax was when I would wake up. I would avoid everything and lay in my bed because I knew that was the only time I was going to be compulsion free for that day. Right now, OCD is still pretty challenging. I have worked hard to face some of my OCD fears, but I'm still working to face a lot of them. I am currently in intensive outpatient and I work 4 days of the week for 3 hours of the day, specifically with a therapist to focus on my fears. And I also have another hour or more of homework every day to focus on these fears. So a lot of them are getting better, but it's still a lot of work. A big part of getting better with OCD is tolerating the discomfort that comes with it, because it is not comfortable. Exposures are miserable at times, and you have to just go into it knowing that anxiety is going to happen. It's not going to be fun or comfortable or easy to do, and you have to do it anyway. And it is hard, but it helps you feel more free and helps you become who you want to be instead of who your OCD says you have to be. Remember that COVID is here and contamination concerns are real right now, but not doing more than the CDC guidelines is also a part of OCD, and I need to stick with just the CDC guidelines and continue about my life, which has been hard to do, but rewarding. I think re-entering the world post-COVID will be a challenge. I think that once people are vaccinated and people are gaining that immunity and getting out into the world and doing things again, it will be very rewarding, but it will also be very challenging. I have taken on so many compulsions that it's going to be really hard to shed them off and to help filter through what's a compulsion versus what is actually healthy. After COVID is over, my biggest hope is to work with kids who were like me. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 20, and I want to help other kids figure out how to get better before they're 20. It's really important to get help as soon as you can, and I want to help kids do that same thing because kids have mental illness too, and I think that had I been noticed as a kid as having a mental illness, I could have gotten help a lot earlier and been able to achieve some dreams that got taken away by anxiety and OCD. So I think my biggest dream for the OCD community would be to catch things early and to treat them early. I think the most important thing I want people to know about OCD is that they're not alone. A lot of times OCD has a stigma because people think it's just washing hands or just organizing, and they don't understand the anxiety that comes with it or the compulsive need to do things. So I want people to know they're not alone and that there are other people out there like them, and to get involved with other people like themselves, because it's so freeing to be able to talk to someone who has had the same experience you have had. I also want people to know that there is hope and it does get better, and it is not a straight line to get better. It is very up and very down and sometimes discouraging, but to keep working and keep pushing because it's worth it.